From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Our top story this evening, a Fort Wainwright soldier accused of murdering his 3-year-old son has waived his right to an Article 32 hearing and will go straight to a federal court-martial.
Army Sergeant Nathaniel Olrone, who is being held in Washington at Joint Base Lewis McChord, is charged with 1 count of premeditated murder, 1 count of kidnapping, 2 counts of aggravated assault, and numerous other charges in connection to the April incident. Army officials have released little about what actually happened inside of the on-post housing unit that led to the death of the toddler, saying the Article 32 hearing would be the time in which all evidence against Olrone would be made public. That hearing, scheduled to be held in Washington, will now be canceled. Lawyers say Olrone will be tried in Fairbanks and will have the option of going in front of a jury of military peers or a judge alone. Now, it could be months before that trial date is set.
Not guilty pleas today in Fairbanks Superior Court for longtime Fairbanks North Star Borough School District employee Claude Folks. Folks has been in jail since March, accused of sexually abusing a Hutchinson High School teenager. Since his original charges, Folks is now facing an additional 3 counts of sexual abuse of a minor in the first degree for another alleged victim. That victim came forward late last month, claiming he was also abused by the tutor who held previous positions at Tanana Middle School. A grand jury indicted Folks on the charges after hearing evidence, including testimony from another person in the case. Trial for Folks is set for September. Now, the Fairbanks North Star Borough Board of Education has scheduled a special meeting for tomorrow at noon to discuss a lawsuit filed by one of the alleged victims of Folks. The board says they intend to discuss the ongoing personal investigations, termination of Superintendent Pete Lewis, and other matters related to the case. The meeting will be held in the boardroom of the Administrative Center located at 520 Fifth Avenue.
A Fairbanks man accused of beating and robbing a camper has pleaded not guilty to multiple charges. 21-year-old Matthew Wendell faces charges including robbery in the 2nd degree, theft, and assault in connection with the June attack. The victim, who was camping in the woods near the Hezray Fields by the Big Dipper Arena, sustained injuries after being kicked and punched multiple times. He initially reported he was jumped by a group of white teenage males who made off with $180 and his debit card. Police later found Wendell with a group of 5 men who matched the description. Wendell admitted to the robbery, stating he was the sole assailant. Trial for Wendell is set for August.
A Fairbanks woman has been flown to Providence Medical Center in Anchorage after an ATV accident left her critically injured. Alaska State Troopers say 48-year-old Rebecca Strange was four-wheeling on Goldstream Road near the Steese Highway when the ATV rolled. EMS personnel were able to transport Strange to Fairbanks Memorial Hospital. She was later airlifted to Anchorage. Now, officials say Strange was not wearing a helmet and was riding alone at the time of the accident. Strange is listed in critical but stable condition. Troopers say the incident is under investigation.
Especially since, with something like the ATV, and even with motorcycles, there's not a lot that's protecting you in case something goes wrong. That's why it's so important to wear a helmet, because sometimes even the smallest crash, the smallest collision can turn really into something really severe because you're not protecting your head.
The Community Service Patrol helps inebriates find a safe place to sleep. As of April 1st, they expanded their coverage, and the change is helping other city departments. Tyson Paris-Hansen filed this report.
Rain or shine, the Community Service Patrol, or CSP, is ready to transport people who are publicly intoxicated and who can't care for themselves. William Yost has been working as an ambassador for the CSP for several years now. He says it's all about showing respect to people in need.
We look at it like we're just, a guy on the street, a gal on the street. We're offering you a ride someplace safe. That's all we do. We want to make certain that you're going to be safe.
The program was expanded in April with new funding from the city, borough, and the state. They now have more employees working more hours, covering the entire city of Fairbanks, not just downtown. Mayor John Eberhardt says it's better to have CSP respond to these non-emergency cases rather than other city departments.
Our police officers in particular, and also our firefighters, are getting tied up a lot of time, a lot of resources on these calls for incapacitated persons. And it sort of took them away from their core missions, more serious crimes, car accidents, fires, etc.
Since the April expansion, Mayor Eberhardt says CSP transports have doubled and the Fairbanks police responses have been cut in half, which saves time and money.
So it's just a great improvement for the whole city.
This is Tyson Paris-Hansen reporting.
All right, when we come back, a British couple takes the ride of a lifetime.
Also, concerned citizens met to discuss the safety of North Pole's Badger Road. Those stories are next. Stay with us. Welcome back. As Fairbanks sets out to bring natural gas to the interior from the North Slope, many think they should model that process after the method used by the companies in the Cook Inlet area that distribute gas to their customers. Today at the weekly luncheon for the Fairbanks Chamber of Commerce, the guest speaker was an official for one of those companies, Cook Inlet Energy. He told the audience that his company, which has been distributing gas since the 1970s, ensured that their customers received the best product for the best price and that their source for their gas was still quite plentiful.
I think as Fairbanks starts to move towards more of a natural gas-based energy system, it's good to understand how the natural gas system works in the other parts of the state, and that it's there and the challenges and economic benefits that have happened because of that system over the years, and hopefully there's some instructive lessons in there.
Legislation signed by Governor Parnell will make it easier for the state to keep vaccines on hand. Monty Bowen has details in this week's health report.
House Bill 169 applies the concept of buying in bulk, which will allow the state to get vaccines at reduced costs, which in turn gives patients more options to prevent illness. The bill's sponsor, State Senator Kathy Giesel, says the idea is to provide patients universal access to vaccines, whether or not they have insurance.
Access to health care for Alaskans and reducing the cost of health care in Alaska and preventing illness, because certainly taking care of someone who's ill costs a lot more than preventing that illness.
Even during Alaska's summer, the flu and other bugs are still hitting people, and health officials say people should still get vaccinated.
The providers that are having to keep separate lots are worried about paperwork and are thinking, gosh, do I really need to keep providing vaccines? Maybe my patients can get them elsewhere.
Alaskans should start seeing the effects of the universal vaccine access law starting in January. In the meantime, doctors say the best thing you can do to fight virus like the flu is to get the shots. This is Bonnie Bowen reporting.
The Health Report is brought to you by the Ear, Nose, and Throat Clinic, located in the Medical Dental Arts Building. Call 456-7768.
Between 1991 and present day, there have been 14 fatal motor vehicle accidents on Badger Road. The latest was the crash on June 4th that killed 18-year-old Elizabeth Shack. Today, concerned citizens met with State Department of Transportation officials and interior lawmakers to discuss safety concerns on the Badger Road corridor. Alaska DOT Commissioner Patrick Kemp attended today's meeting. Concerns from those in attendance centered mainly around the posted 55 miles per hour speed limit on Badger, saying that's too high. State Senator John Coghill says there are several dangerous intersections on the corridor, and he supports using state funds to address safety issues on the roadway.
The Badger Road safety is a big issue. With a tragic event, it becomes emotional, but it also becomes very important. So I think today was a good meeting because the importance of the issue came up, but also how do you study to make it better? And what are the things you can do immediately? There were some good suggestions came out of this meeting.
Of course, you have to be safe, and I think this was a good meeting. I think we're going to find some solutions, and I hope we can find some solutions fast. I'd like to go after this right away if we could.
The journey of the Lizzie bus ended last week as a British couple finished driving around the world. Monty Bowen has part 2 of his report on David and Jane, who say they learned a lot on their journey that ended at Prudhoe Bay last week.
During their journey, they found that every country has a different way of doing things.
In West Coast Africa, we were being stopped up to 20 or 30 times a day. And now it's not particularly easy, and it's quite frightening when you're in the middle of nowhere, nobody knows where you are. We don't carry a sat phone, we don't carry a smartphone. In fact, occasionally we might buy a local SIM, which it depends.
And we don't carry a gun?
We don't carry a gun. We're English, for God's sake.
We don't carry guns.
We don't have guns.
They've also learned that things aren't necessarily what we have been told over the years.
The people that you meet, it's not the way that the politicians sort of explain it to you, or the newspapers show it to you. Yeah, people are friendly. You know, we've been to countries, we've been invited into people's houses. The poorest people in the world will share the most.
Yes. David doesn't think things like this change you.
When you travel, what you really are comes out. So I'm now a Land Rover mechanic.
The tentative plan was to go to Prudhoe and then back to Fairbanks. One thing that will determine what's next is their travel papers.
We have been probably in America for nearly 5.5 months. We only have 6-month visas.
When it's all said and done, what will they do after this 5-year adventure?
Well, I'll go back to my 9-to-5 job. No, it's never going to happen.
No.
We buy another Land Rover, and with all the lessons that we've learnt on this travel, probably travel through Russia, up to Vladivostok, and then probably out to Tokyo, Japan, and spend 6 months in Japan, and then go back and revisit the places we've been to already.
Well, that is cool.
It is. I mean, it's almost an athletic competition driving around the world like that.
It would take a lot of patience to be with the same person in the car for that long of a time. Trust me, I have PCS'd across the United States. And
or on the news desk.
By the end. Oh, whatever. You are so.
That's a good point, though.
What's going on in sports
today? That's not a good point, Joe.
Yes, it is. Sure it is. Well, the Gold Panthers, they get a little payback against one of the Anchorage baseball teams, and it's how they did it. More on that after the break, plus Midnight Sun tennis and more. Stay with us. Welcome back, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook here in the Sports Seat for you this evening with your Tuesday sports. Now, last night in Grotto Memorial Park, the Alaska Gold Panthers bucked a recent trend against, of all teams, the Anchorage Bucks. See what I did there? The Bucks owned the top side of the scoreboard after Dylan Butler's bases clearing double with the sacks loaded, putting the Bucks up 3-0 after one, as Panthers still can't make the play in the outfield. The Panthers were down 4-1 and still trailed going into the 7th as both teams' defenses made it hard to score. Ethan Manarino, through 7 innings, gave up 2 earned and had 5 Ks for the Bucks, while Alaska, they fielded very well on defense. And Alaska's Von Bozoian, he sparks the comeback. His RBI in the bottom of the 8th brings the Panthers within 1, making a 4-3 game. The Bucks pitching fell apart late, and the Panthers cashed in as they made some mistakes. Scooter Bynum, he tied the game after a wild pitch, and Alaska gets the go-ahead run with the sacrifice. The Panthers scored 3 crucial ones in the bottom of the 8th, and Tyler McGill, the big 6'8" righty, headed to Loyola Marymount, made his debut for the Panthers last night. He was an Anchorage Glacier pilot, but he joined the Panthers last night after being released. He got the win, striking out the Bucks' last batter to end the game. The Gold Panthers win 5-4, bouncing back from Sunday's doubleheader losses to tie the series 2-2. Alaska returns the favor with this come-from-behind win. The Bucks' wins on Sundays were comebacks.
We just made sure that we focused on having good at-bats and taking good swings, and it really doesn't dictate what the result's going to be, but if you take your good swing, hopefully it comes out on top, and everyone seemed to have a really good approach during the 8th inning, and it really clicked. So.
I mean, I challenged them a little bit after the game yesterday. We got them out early and got a good workout in early. Came off of our normal schedule, kind of made them compete a little bit in our workout today. Want them to compete against every pitch, every at-bat, every play in the outfield, in the infield. Every pitcher that throws, he's competing. And that's the mentality they got to have. We're a good team. We know that. They just got to find a way to deal with the adversity, and they did today.
Now, tonight's game is obviously rained out, but it will be made up on Monday, July 28th, and that's the last regular season games of the summer. And that will be a doubleheader in Mulcahy Stadium. The two teams will have the final game of this series, Game 5, this Thursday in Anchorage. And the summer is here, well, at least kind of. It seems that a lot of sports are just getting lucky with the weather. Over the weekend, the Midnight Sun Adults and Juniors Tennis Tournament was in the sun on the Dan Ramaras Community Tennis Course. The 2-day event featured a number of local high school standouts like the Terrell and Dana LeMays of North Pole and former college players as well. The 14-year-old boys champion was Brian Ely, who defeated Robert Alexander for the title. Zach Greenberg won the consolation bracket in the mixed doubles. Jason Ringstad and Kathy Thomas won the bracket. The Midnight Sun Open women's champion was Miho Moriato, who won 6-3, 6-1 over Dana LeMay, and Gina Pender won the consolation bracket. Ringstad, though, he won 2 titles in the tournament, earning the men's open title along with the mixed doubles championship. Ringstad defeated West Valley's Jared Lees 6-0, 6-5 in the men's final, and Dave Partee was the consolation winner. On Saturday, next to Grotto Memorial Park, local volleyball players took to the courts for the 4th annual Midnight Sun Sand Volleyball Tournament. Gavin Meggert successfully defended his Midnight Sun Sand Volleyball Tournament title with Nicholas Anderson. Their only loss was to Riley Bartholomew and Ryan Haldeshell in the first game of the double elimination final, but Meggert and Anderson won the winner-take-all game in the final game of the night. Third place went to Ishmael Agay and Spencer McLeod. Jessica Hill and Julie Gahully played in the men's division. They placed 4th. Monroe's Marissa King and West Valley's Nora Trotman won the women's division, beating Monroe Jr. Emily Fitzter and Rams freshman Cannon King in the final. The mother-daughter combo, Savannah and Song Epson, placed 3rd. Melissa Spalding and Jessica Rice were 4th. And now the next event is the Independence Day Reverse Co-Ed Tournament at Groudon Memorial Park this Friday, July 4th, with registration starting at 10 a.m. and games at 11 o'clock. Another event had perfect timing for their outdoor fundraiser over the weekend. The Midnight Sun 3-on-3 basketball tournament at Pioneer Park on Saturday featured over 50 teams on the blacktop. Teams range from 3rd graders and up to an over 40 men's division. It was originally scheduled for June 21st when they usually have them, but they dodged a bullet with all the other Midnight Sun activities and the weather from last weekend. Teams came from all over. There were teams from Minto. The Hutchinson girls fielded the team, as well as a Monroe alumni team, the Lathrop boys team, and more. Now, you could have teams of 4 for this Scoop It Up style tournament, which is a fundraising event for the West Valley basketball programs. And that's it for sports tonight. Mike Schultz is next with your full weather forecast. And as always, we'll catch you next time.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Fbx Evening News. Mike Schultz with you once again, taking a look at the weather. And you are a part of history. That's right. Yesterday, we wrapped up the wettest June on record by 1/10 of a measurement in the rainfall. And we're looking at starting off with lots of rain, obviously, because we're having a pretty good rain situation going on right now. We'll tell you about that in just a little bit. Photograph night sent in by Susan Slicker. She was down in Homer. I was able to get this beautiful shot here. And as always, if you have a photograph to share, by all means, send it to photos@ktbf11.com. Here's what's going on at the airport right now with rain after a high of 60 degrees. The low last night, 55, 57 currently. Record high, 88, 1990. Record low, 31, 1905. Sunrise and sunset, about 21 hours and 22 minutes of daylight, a loss of 4 minutes from yesterday. Flood warnings out for the Upper Chena River through Saturday at 2 p.m., Salsha at 12:15 p.m. Friday, and the Good Pasture River Friday at 1:30 p.m. as the river continues to rise. And they're talking about the dropping the gates down the Moose Creek Dam by tomorrow night. Here's what's happening. As you can see, we have a little area of low pressure here working its way up to the north, but at the same time pulling all this moisture down across the Fairbanks area. And zooming in with our latest radar, as you can see, we're looking at a good band, once again, moving right across the Fairbanks area, and not much end in sight until possibly tomorrow morning, the way it looks right now. Elsewhere across the state, things have calmed down considerably. A little fog around the Nome area. Clear to partly cloudy skies over the Gulf of Alaska, and clear to partly cloudy skies over southeast Alaska. Cloudy skies at Fort Yukon, 68 degrees. Low 48. Looking at more showers and thunderstorms over Texas. But the big news tonight is a new tropical storm that has formed. Tropical Storm Arthur is expected to actually possibly intensify into the first hurricane of the year. We'll be keeping an eye on that. And later on this week, as you can see, that storm system will be moving up the eastern seaboard. Very hot and dry out to the west. And one real quick note. Mecca in Saudi Arabia, 123 degrees yesterday for their high temperature. Unbelievable. Back to the lower 48, or out of the way to the lower 48. We're talking about Alaska now. Cloudy skies at Barrow tomorrow. Rain showers for Nome and Fort Yukon. Here in the interior, good news. The rain showers should be diminishing by afternoon. And over southeast Alaska, we're also looking at showers across the region there. Over to the southwest, for the most part, partly cloudy skies at Cold Bay, cloudy at Bethel, mostly sunnies for Kodiak. And over the south central regions, lots of sunshine expected for Homer, Anchorage, and Valdez. And our forecast for the remainder of the night, again, rain will be continuing into the morning hours, 53 degrees for the overnight low. And as far as the extended forecast, well, actually tomorrow's forecast, morning rain will become isolated showers. And the 5-day outlook, as you can see here, looking at 74, 76, and 75 all the way across the board there. Very nice looking temperatures there. As you can see, we're looking at temperatures to be very nice for the July 4th. So we get rid of the rain. July 4th looks great for all the outdoor activities, and it looks like a nice weather forecast heading into the weekend too, but let's get rid of the rain first.
Finally, all right. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. And that will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, passengers arriving from overseas are receiving more thorough inspections. That's next with Brian Williams.
You can join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webster11.com.
That'll do it from all of us here at the News Center. Have a good night. See you back here at 11.